If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw, and I am joined by a veritable cavalcade of folks. Joining me, as always, for Jess Byard June is Jess Byard.
Hello.
Along with Jess Byard, we are joined once again by friend of the podcast and artist, Maggie the Odd.
Hey gang, how's it going?
And everyone's favorite movie podcaster, your friend and mine, the one and only Mr. Mike White of the Projection Booth.
I'm glad you qualified movie podcaster because Joe Rogan is everybody's favorite podcaster.
I love podcasters who say things that are controversial and then no one takes them to task for it.
He's just saying what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, I know someone else who's like that. He's in the Oval Office. Fucking hell. Oh, man. And on this final episode of Jess Byard June, we are talking about Ken Russell's biographical film about Rudolph Valentino, known colloquially as Valentino.
I'm the Sheik of Araby. Your love belongs to me. At night when you're asleep, into your tent I'll creep. The stars that shine above will light our way to love. You'll rule this land with me, the Sheik of Araby. The desert wild and free rides the bold Sheik of Araby. His Arab band at his command follow his love's caravan under the shadow of the palms. He sings to call her to his arms.
So the film is directed by Ken Russell. The screenplay is by Ken Russell and Mardik Martin. It stars Rudolf Nureyev as Rudolph Valentino and a whole bunch of other folks, but we'll get to him when we get to him. Before I let Maggie and Jess give their thoughts on the film, because I know they have both already seen it, I'm curious, Mike, since you and I hadn't seen it yet, I'm curious what you thought of the film.
Of all the movies to invite me on for this month.
Wow. That good, huh?
I really like Listomania. I love Lair of the White Worm. Pretty good on horror. Love me some Tommy. Pretty much everything else by Ken Russell that I've seen. And then I come across this movie.
So was this like one of the few gaps you had in your Ken Russell film watching?
No, I've got more gaps than that, especially some of his early stuff, some of his things that are based on like composers, those kind of things. So, I mean, I should have seen this film since it came out in 1977. I probably should have caught it at some point. But yeah, I had never seen it, and I don't think I'm going to be rushing back to this one.
So, Maggie, since you're not Jess, but you are our guest.
No, contrary to popular belief, not the same person.
They are in different rooms this time, so there is proof that they are
whole other apartments.
Maggie, what do you think of Valentino?
This one I really love visually, and I like it as kind of a bio on Valentino. It's very lush. I love its pacing, but once again, I do appreciate Litzomania for its flavor retelling as opposed to this, but I do really enjoy watching it. I don't know what it is about it, whether it's like a visual comfort or what have you, but I do enjoy it. It's not my top spot, but I do like it.
What about you, Jess?
Valentino was, I can't remember how many, I think it was probably like the third or fourth Ken Russell I had seen at the time, and I think this is one that Maggie and I watched together for the first time. Yes?
Yeah.
And no, look, this movie checks a lot of boxes for me. I think that it has just as much, maybe not as much energy as Litzomania, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And it also, like, I love classic Hollywood, and especially the sort of exaggerated, really bombastic, hedonistic side of it, that it just seems like this whole other world. And while, maybe the real stories of Valentino weren't, didn't play out exactly this way, and that some events are, moved back in time to kind of aid the plot, I think that that's fine, because we're being told the life of Valentino through various people. So we have many unreliable narrators, which, being subject to their stories, for me, was more interesting than, Valentino's actual life, which is also very interesting, but in movie form. And, Ken Russell's dance background really comes through in this film. And just note on the choreographer involved, actually did assistant choreography for Rocky Horror, was a choreographer on Shock Treatment, and, movie hated by myself but loved by Chris, Bugsy Malone.
I like it. I think the love goes to Father Malone.
I'm pretty sure that if we go back and listen to that podcast, there might be the L word coming from you.
That's true. I like it a lot. You're right. Is that the L word we're talking about?
Yes.
I do love parts of Bugsy Malone, but I would agree. I think having rewatched it now multiple times since then, it's a little long in the tooth. It's a lot long in the. Speaking of films that are long in the tooth, let's talk about this movie. I like parts of this.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Film. But I'm just going to go on the record and say if I hadn't known Rudolf Nureyev was not an actor, I would have been able to tell pretty much right off the bat. Again, the problem with this movie a lot of the times is you have classically trained actors on screen with someone who isn't, but he has the dance background. Obviously, Rudolf Nureyev is a very well-known, one of the most famous, if not the most famous, male ballet performer, and he gets outclassed by everyone in the film because he's not an actor. And look, I'm not saying that just because you're not an actor doesn't mean you can't bring something to a role. I'm merely commenting on Nureyev is outclassed by everyone, be it Carol Kane. He's even outclassed by probably the most obnoxious part of the film, William Hootkins, otherwise known as Porkins from Star Wars.
Yep.
Which is such a great casting role to cast Porkins as Star Wars as Fatty Arbuckle. Obviously, that's not why he was cast.
What? Fatty Arbuckle? He was just Mr. Fatty in this movie. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Fatty.
How many times could they say Mr. Fatty, and how loud could he laugh?
I know.
Those are two of my questions.
Yeah, I mean,
he's unhinged. I love him in this, but I'm glad that I have this kind of missing area of my William Hootkins filmography filled. I appreciate that because I've seen so many movies with William Hootkins. I love him in Flash Gordon, Bad Timing, Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course. So when he showed up, I was just like, all right, good. Another Hootkins film down.
And William Hootkins, essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, he was one of those American actors who lived in England so that anytime they needed to cast an American, he was like, I'm here, cast me.
Yeah. Oh, and fucking A, I forgot he was Eckhart. You forgot to think about the future.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Good Lord. Yeah, I mean, again, that I think is my overarching issue, and I don't want to beat it into the ground how kind of outclassed I think Rudolf Nureyev is, because that is a through line through the movie, but I think to Maggie's point, I wish, like you said, Maggie, Litzomania has a lot of energy to it, and I wish that some of that energy could have gone into this movie, because it's just so straightforward. Like, even though I know they're telling it in, like, this kind of Rashomon flashback, unreliable narrator style.
Yeah, it's almost more Citizen Kane-esque.
Yeah.
Just like, who was Rudolph Valentino, and all the women in his life get to have this kind of privilege of explaining who he is. I mean, it's an interesting concept. It wasn't necessarily clicking with me.
Well, and I mean, Ken Russell did go on record saying that this was sort of his, how Chris, we did horror before this, and it was his answer to Pretty Woman, and this was sort of his reflection on Citizen Kane, or like a film like Citizen Kane, and with his Ken Russell way. But though, actually, Mike and Chris, Ken Russell would actually be more in the agreement with you guys,
right.
That he didn't actually end up really caring too much for this movie, because he didn't end up having final cut on it, which changed, how he viewed it and changed a lot of what he wanted to do. Now, I don't know what entirely is missing. I revisited this movie. I have the Kino Lorber Blu-ray release of it, and there's a commentary with film historian. I'm totally blanking on his name right now. But yeah, he would go on to say that Ken, this this whole movie making process was a huge like stress for him. It was 22 weeks ongoing back to back. Rudolf Nureyev was temperamental on stage or on set. And yeah, there, you know, it sounds like just one of those classic like hell sets to be on, you know, just because of how big and expansive all of the set pieces are and how much work has to go into keeping them the way that they are. I can see, you know, why he looks back on it with some bad memories, but I still like the outcome.
Well, and the other reason he looks back on it poorly, I mean, we're talking about Ken Russell as if he's still alive. Ken Russell he's
still alive in my heart.
Yeah, Ken Russell though very much dead, unfortunately, for a number of reasons. Apparently, this is the film he made instead of The Rose with Bette Midler. So I think that feeds into it a little bit. I mean, look, if it's one thing where you're just like, I made this movie, I didn't like it, but it's worse when it's, I made this movie in place of something else. That always, in my mind at least, when we've talked about these kinds of movies where a director turns down another piece for, like, makes a decision, sometimes it's not the outcome like this. Sometimes, like, I'm glad I made this as opposed to that. This is one of those decisions where it's like the disappointment he felt towards Valentino not getting final cut was probably amplified by the film not being as successful as The Rose, at least in his mind.
I would be very curious to see what his final cut was like, just because editing is so crucial to a movie like this. And there are times, you know, you've got the manic energy of Ken Russell, and so, you know, you just have to be kind of careful how that gets channeled. And if a movie feels choppy, which this does at times, it's like, okay, is that because of the way that it's so manic in other parts, or is it just that I'm now missing things, you know? Because there were times where I was like, okay, where am I now? You know, I was so glad that the Wikipedia was kind of giving me paragraphs of, okay, this is this section of the film. What the hell is happening here? I don't really understand what's going on. And even being familiar with the story of Rudolph Valentino, I was still just like, who are these women? What is going on here? What's happening here? How is this powder puff falling in his lap? How is this thing going? Just all of these questions that I had, and I was glad that I had this kind of signpost, because otherwise I felt just kind of lost.
As a note from the Kino Lorber disc, Tim Lucas is the film historian who does the commentary on it. And he does say, like, he points out a specific scenes. One particular, there's a scene towards the middle of the film where Valentino and his newlywed wife are arrested, and she's, you know, let go basically on bail, and he has to stay overnight. And so some pretty...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
Horrific harassment happens to him, and there's a very noticeable edit where it kind of like there's almost a music cue that starts, and then it kind of goes nowhere, and that, Lucas points to it being stuff that was cut out in the final cut, where there were things, spoiler alert if you don't know, that Rudolph Valentino is dead, and like many of the silent film era stars didn't live to see pretty much past 40. A lot of them died in various circumstances. But we don't really, in the film, that's not really alluded to as to why until towards the end, where it's just kind of thrown at us that he's kind of has this, appendicitis illness all of the sudden that, would eventually take him out. And so it's things like that for some reason just didn't make the cut, whatever the reasons were, whoever in the studio it was that was making those decisions.
Well, and, to both of your points, it is disappointing that we're never going to get to see this final cut. But at the same time, like you just mentioned, Jess, I guess I don't know, other than it's a Ken Russell movie, and it's telling the story of a person who's, real life, ostensibly, as opposed to Litzomania, which kind of goes in a more anachronistic direction. I'm still looking for what makes this movie a Ken Russell movie. And I feel like I've been saying that now since less Lair of the White Worm, but with horror, definitely. But this is like, I'm missing that, like, wry sense of style that the Devils or Litzomania had. But maybe it's just me, and I just felt really thankful to have these two movies where the style was almost neck and neck with substance.
Well, and I agree with you on that. Like I said, it has a little less flavor, but I think where I see most of the Ken Russell activity is how he directs who he can direct. I agree. Rudolph is like stiff as a board. Great butt. But he just cannot.
100%.
I mean, he's a very talented ballet performer. No one's going to.
Absolutely. And those sections are very worth it. It's just, I think that it's more of the characters that he derives from these real people, how they're like twice as exaggerated, and how it kind of reflects on the fact that they are silent movie actors and like artists of the time, where it just comes off that way, where it's just cartoonish in the light of realism. It's just not as much. It's almost like, I think the edit does really stifle some of those really punchy parts that I think would have been really successful had he been manning it. But that's the one like Ken Russell detail that I could find. It's just, once again, if they aren't going to be participating half as well as, the actors and actresses and Litz, it's going to fall flat. And for a drama queen on set, I'm not fucking surprised.
Yeah, it doesn't come through. All the drama that was going on was behind the scenes. He didn't bring any of it on screen. It's kind of weird. I mean, when you have these actors or someone who's, I mean, look, here's the thing. If you read about the film, which I know everyone here did, Nureyev was not even the original choice for Rudolph Valentino. He was originally just going to be cast as Vaslav Nijinsky, who is the dancer that Valentino is dancing with at the beginning of the film. And I guess, okay, you're going to go from a small part bit part to the carrying the film on his shoulders, Well,
I mean, in large part, I think the reasons for that were, he was pretty actually similarly built to Valentino, although he was, slightly shorter and had a narrower waist. But his dance background and everything. And I don't know. I would actually disagree, Chris. I think that this is a Ken Russell movie. Like, I don't think that it's possible to stifle the Ken Russell-ness of the movies. And I would say that is true of all of the movies that we have watched, even horror, which, I mean, again, you have Crimes of Passion is effectively a very similar movie. So there's maybe that, benefit of my previously viewing that before watching horror, where I can see those Ken Russell-isms. But I don't know. I see it in the set design. I see it in the elaborate choreography. I see it in the cartoonish recreates of the silent films that we get to see, all these different reenactments from Valentino movies that I think are really fun and a really interesting way to do it and actually get to show that stuff on screen rather than it just being kind of a part of the background. And even if a lot of the drama does happen maybe off screen, I think that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of parallel for me to those, what newspapers and tabloids would have been like back then, where it's just headlines. All you're seeing is headlines. All the drama you didn't see. There weren't cameras. There wasn't social media. There wasn't any of that. So you're not seeing it as a public. It's just you building it up in your head. And so you have these, big bombastic, egocentric people that were involved in his life coming out and telling their big, elaborate stories about, the world's greatest lover, and making themselves as big, if not bigger than him at his own funeral. So I think that, we're not going to see a lot of that, drama play out on screen, because all of the personalities on screen at one time are just, I don't know, they're walking drama bubbles to me. I feel a lot of energy in this movie. And like I said, I do think it is stifled. It is, less than Lithomania, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
Oh, and the reason Nureyev was cast is because the original choice died of a heart attack.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. So there you have it. But it's okay, because Nureyev was almost cast by another director in a biopic about Rudolph Valentino. So I guess there was no way we weren't going to get Rudolf Nureyev as Valentino, and it's something.
I mean, I'm not really opposed. I enjoy watching him as Valentino very much.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the acting, I actually was giving him a little bit of a pass just because he was a silent actor in real life. And I was just like, okay, silent actors needed different tools than actors these days. And so I was like, all right, if he's a little stiff and a little over-emoting and these kind of things, I was actually buying it as far as his performance went. Yeah, to me, the biggest thing was just the gristle, the stuff between the scenes, where I was just like, okay, who is this person now, and who is this person, and just like, especially when they would cut back to the funeral.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output, and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Home, and they would have all the theatrics that were going on there, and just there were times where, like, the Michelle Phillips character, I was having a hard time like figuring out when she was there. I mean, it's told in a non-linear narrative style, and I think he was with her and then left her and then went back to her, possibly. It was just a matter of like, when is this happening and how does this happen in relation to other things. It's like you didn't have the reporter from Citizen Kane taking you through things and introducing you to the characters. Instead, you were just like, suddenly I'm with Joseph Cotton, and who is this guy? And not making that connection that this guy is the same as the guy that worked in the newspaper office.
Well, and so in regards to that commentary that I listened to, he talks a little bit about how some of those events were moved around, they were exaggerated or moved around in the time so that they would fit in the plot better than when they actually occurred in Valentino's actual life. But in regards to a character like Carol Kane, who is present during the fatty, Mr. Fatty scene, where Rudolph and his dancing partner Marjorie are effectively, she's humiliated and he kind of saves the day. But Carol Kane, is there and she kind of catches his eye, and then we get a scene or two with them in his, in their house and just kind of, basically just hanging out. And then we flash forward, and I guess in regards to that, she is references to being his estranged wife that he did marry, and I'm forgetting her name, but that he married.
Jean Acker.
Was estranged. Not sure if he ever really went back to her, but they said that she wasn't allowed to be named in that movie because of legal reasons.
She was probably still alive at the time.
Yes, I believe so. She was.
Ken Russell reached out to her to discuss Bruno Valentino.
I want to see that movie.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Bruno is back. The return of Bruno.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that Bruce Willis special.
Thank God. I'm glad someone does. Apparently, Jean Acker didn't want to talk to Ken Russell about Rudolph Valentino.
Yeah, she was like 80, 90 years old?
Yeah, she was
point?
80 at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, we might also be... That's the one that he mentioned that wasn't named in specific, because of legal reasons. We could also, there could have been other people still alive. Because this movie came out in, 1977?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so same year as Star Wars.
Yeah, it was possible that people from that era would have, and who knew him, would have still been around. Very old, obviously, but still around.
I think for me, though, my favorite scene in the movie is the Mr. Fatty scene. I think there's an energy in that scene that's not in the... Not saying it's not in the rest of the film, but it's not as ever present as it is in that scene in the rest of the film.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it is just... Like I said, I talked about the manic energy. That's the most manic scene for me.
Yeah. I mean, from William Hootkins to Carol Kane to... I think that's the scene where Rudolf Nureyev really shines for me, too, because you get the kind of wry, kind of like poking nature of Valentino as a person where he's like, okay, well, I'm going to stick it to this laughing asshole then. Fine. Like, you get that in that scene, and it is there a little bit throughout the rest of the film, but that scene is such a standout scene. It really reminded me of the 10-foot penis scene in Litzamania.
Yeah. Yeah, no, see, I appreciate that, and I think why it's so successful is he was more in his wheelhouse. He does not exchange more than, 2 lines in that whole scene. Every single thing he's communicating, it is through dance, using Carol Kane as, this awesome conduit for it. She completely killed the role just by her responses in the moment. It was wonderful.
Yeah, the only other scene I can think of that has that type of energy is when he goes to the bar and there's the dancing girls with the powder puffs on their head. I was just like, oh, that's really cool. It's a striking visual, the way they're all moving in time, synchronized. It's like, that's really cool. And then they push in on the powder puff, and I was like thinking that the handle for the powder puff was going to be a dildo or something, but then it was just a regular handle. I'm like, why are we getting this push in? This is kind of strange.
And, talking about kind of towards the end of the film, the other thing that I think could have been really fixed throughout the film, because they really are talking about his sexuality throughout the film. I think that the way the film ends, I know that obviously he's, he dies in real life in the film. The way the film's talking about his story, it has his, the inevitable conclusion to the story is that he is going to die. But they didn't do, in my mind, a very good job either of setting up this conflict, this eventual conflict with the media about his sexuality. It doesn't, it comes into play about halfway through the movie. That is a 2-hour movie on top of everything else. I wanted more of that because, again, that felt very Ken Russell to talk about those kind of topics and, a man struggling with his own sexuality and his perception in the public eye of his own sexuality. And they touch on it, but they touch on it in a way that feels less tactful than Ken Russell should be talking about it, if that makes sense. I wanted them to actually approach it in a way that didn't just feel like, well, they think you're gay. It's like, okay.
Right.
Then I'll punch them. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
you got him, dude.
Italian way to settle things back then. You have to show how much of a manly man you are. And I mean, Valentino in real life, he did have that reputation as, the world's greatest lover. But again, that was all manufactured. And a lot of that, a lot of this time period all of these images were entirely manufactured. You didn't have access to these people outside of these like very small circles. And I don't know that he was necessarily actually gay in real life. I think that he was, there have been a few various quotes saying, kind of alluding to the fact that he was actually more asexual, and that he was like, definitely, he had interest in people, but that was not at all his like end all be all. That was something that was much more of just the manufactured image that was put onto him. But, then there's other stories of him being, much like a lot of stories about people, especially people featured in this movie, Fatty Arbuckle, having these crazy parties where it was kind of anything goes.
Well, I mean, look, let's not kid ourselves. While it is 2020, you have actors as recently, in the 70s and 80s, and now, I mean, talking about like these actors from olden days of Hollywood, I mean, I know that the new Perry Mason show just aired on HBO again, but Raymond Burr was, in the same camp as Rudolph Valentino. A lot of those actors were, and still are, obviously, for a number of reasons. And I just expected, if you're going to touch on it in this film, touch on it in a way that feels like you have something to say about it and less of an afterthought.
Valid point. I agree with that.
Point taken.
Well, then I also have to question, in 1977, how open are they going to be about his sexuality? How willing are they going to be to explore it and, to look at him as being asexual or bisexual or any type of sexual other than hetero? Because I think we see just hetero stuff going on, and then when anybody questions his sexuality, which I never understand why they're questioning his sexuality. It's just like all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're gay, and then he gets really mad about stuff. It's like, okay, it just didn't compute.
Well, they never even outright called him gay. They said that he was a powder puff, a pink powder puff, and it's like,
pretty sure that's the same as calling somebody
I
gay.
know, but I'm saying, I'm talking like overtly in the film. I can guarantee you they overtly called him that, in real life, I'm sure, but like, it's all about implication in the film.
Well, it's all about implication and innuendo with Ken Russell.
That's fair. I just expect more from Ken Russell if that's the path you're going to go down. I mean, look, maybe it's me expecting more than I deserve.
We need to take, into consideration that this is this is supposedly based on a biography by
Chaw Mank and Brad Steiger.
But it's also more based on on a book by Irving Shulman called Valentino, which is a more embellished version of Valentino's life and uses the funeral as a sort of setup piece for it. And I mean, Ken Russell goes on record to say, you've got a story, what do you want the truth for?
Right. And I get that. I think the weird thing for me about this film versus something like Litzomania is there is a sense of kind of flexing your muscles a little bit more with Litzomania, and Valentino feels very much like just a straightforward biographical film, and that is not what I was expecting. I was expecting something a little bit more, not abstract in a way, but a little bit more of something. Just give me something more to chew on here, because Litzomania gives you a lot. I mean, the anachronisms in the film only go so far with Count Hitler, Frankenstein, or what, I forget what you were calling him, Maggie, in that episode.
Count Hitlerstein. You're close. Real close.
But like, maybe it was me hoping that that's what this was going to be, and I didn't get that, but that's neither here nor there. Once I realized that this was a rather straightforward biographical film, I settled in for kind of that experience. But it's kind of weird. You go from Litzomania to this, and it's like, This is just an autobiography, pretty much, or a biographical film.
and take an account of the things that you like so much about Litzomania and the storytelling and everything behind it, and that Ken Russell did write that movie and wrote The Devils, but he did not write pretty much any of the other movies that we've watched.
I guess not really.
Okay,
sure.
No, not really. It's based on a play.
It's an adaptation.
Right.
Well, technically, The Devils is an adaptation.
That's true, but...
And isn't Litzomania technically an adaptation?
I mean, it's an adaptation of a life.
Did Ken Russell, did he write an original movie from scratch, or were a lot of it...
Crimes of Punishment, I think, is written by him. Or, not Crimes of Punishment, wow.
Crimes of Passion.
Crimes of Passion, yeah.
Again,
is that written by him?
Look at Scorsese. I mean, Scorsese has made a career off of making other people's works into movies. Goodfellas, Casino. Look at Spielberg. Jesus Christ. Jaws and Jurassic Park are not Steven Spielberg creations. Hate to break it to anybody.
No, but they are bettered because they are not good, interesting books. Sorry.
I would agree with Jaws, but I like Jurassic Park.
Fine, you can have Jurassic Park, but Jaws is a terrible book.
Jurassic Park the book I liked better than Jurassic Park the movie.
With you on that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I haven't
fine.
read it.
Jaws the book has some interesting stuff that they don't do in the movie because it's a Steven Spielberg movie. Like the affair.
It gets pretty
graphic.
graphic.
The affair. The affair between Brody's wife and which would ostensibly be Dreyfuss's character in the film. Yeah.
And I was mistaken. Ken Russell did not write Crimes of Passion. Barry Sandler did. But I think, just to my point, as far as Litzomania and The Devils go, which are, Chris, of this month, I think it's safe to say those are the two that you would revisit, the two that you enjoyed the most out of this month. And they are both written by him. They're both written by him, and The Devils was made during a time where it was banned for a reason because they did let him have final cut on it. So the things that you like about Ken Russell are him being totally untethered. And when he does have to have some, either he doesn't get final cut or he's limited by, other writers or other filmmakers, whatever, then there's some of the gloss is lost, which I totally get.
Right.
Because I would agree with you. I would agree with you that, like, the first two of this month are probably the most fun you're going to have. Well, like, The Devils is not fun, but, the most experience you're going to have out of Ken Russell movies.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, those two movies being where they were was a decision that we made. I guess, you, whoever, that was the decision that was made. Should it have been in a different order? Maybe, but I don't think it would have changed my opinion a whole lot. I would have just been like, I guess I would have been like, where's all the good stuff I've heard so much about? Is probably that's what would have been the kind of converse of this situation would have been. Ken Russell is just kind of like a director then, yeah? And then it's like, oh, The Devils and Litzomania, and then you kind of get this really exciting, interesting style. So... And look, I mean, I didn't even watch, the two movies that I would say he's really known for, which is Tommy and Altered States. So,
Which also, I mean, not Tommy is very, I think that that's probably, Maggie, would you agree that's probably on the same level of energy as like a Litzomania?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a lot more blatantly out there for whatever reason he deemed necessary. But it was also a lot more of like an abstract production to begin with. It's essentially a long-winded music video.
You have to really like
worked in that favor.
You have to really like The Who, right?
Yeah, which I don't really love The Who, so.
Mike, what is your favorite Ken Russell film?
Gosh, probably Tommy. I think that's the one that I've seen the most. And after that, maybe Crimes of Passion, because I saw that at just the right time when I was growing up, if you know what I mean. Nod, nod, wink, wink.
I have not seen it, so I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I'm assuming it has something to do with Kathleen Turner, yeah? Okay.
Just across the board. Best stalker in movie history.
Best weapon.
Yes. And also Rick Wakeman trying to do like a weird porno soundtrack. It makes my life. Oh my God.
So now I have to watch this movie. And clearly Tommy and Altered States. I mean, again, you know.
If we do a whole other month, you just throw in Gothic, and there you go. There's your 4.
Yeah.
Or Last Dance with Salome.
Yeah, I've always heard that The Boyfriend is supposed to be very good, but I've never seen it.
I've never seen that one either. I haven't seen his more, and I would say that they're probably his more subdued movies, like the Boyfriend and Mahler. As far as like backdrops and settings go, they're not as like vibrant and lush, I don't think. At least not from the stills I've seen.
I'd argue The Boyfriend, that is just as lush. It's just more of like a kind of a happy-go-lucky, more of a theme. It's very uncharacteristic, but the style is still there.
Uncharacteristically optimistic considering how it came out the same year as The Devils.
Well, it's just clean. It's clean, I should say.
Nobody's fucking themselves with a femur is what you're saying.
Yes, that would be one way of putting it for sure.
Not fucking myself with a femur scale, popularized by the Kulturecast podcast, yes. And here's the other thing about Valentino, and this is just kind of a thing about myself, and I don't know where y'all fall on this scale. I really don't like autobiographical. I don't like biographical films. I don't like biopics, because very rarely are they done in a way that's interesting. It's all very rote and very straightforward narrative. And while this film, like Mike mentioned, has a non-linear narrative, the outcome is still the same, and how we get there is different a little bit, but it just feels so... Biopics for me is just like a subgenre of drama that I just really don't care about.
That's fair. I grew up with Lawrence of Arabia, so that stuff is kind of my jam.
I think it just depends on the biopic, like things like Lawrence of Arabia are, fantastically well-made films that, it's, you don't get much better acting at that time than in that movie. And, those stories are just very interesting. Those are about people that you don't necessarily know, they're not pop culture icons, they're not people that are very much in the spotlight that you know. And I think that probably in the last 20, 30 years is where the biopic really kind of started to pick up the formula that it functions under now, where It's like really super popular person that you already know about. Very, very, contrived. It kind of like, VH1's Behind the Music, where it's like good stuff, bad stuff. Everyone's bad. Oh no, someone's died. Ah, crap. And then, somewhat optimistic ending, but someone's still dead.
Right.
And that's just kind of the formula we follow. And sure, I can see that, that does happen for all intents and purposes in this movie. Now, I think that the ending of this movie, and, we kind of alluded to this last time Maggie was here for this month, that this movie ends very much like another movie we did for Kulturecast, All That Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of does.
To me, I feel like this movie does have kind of Bob Fosse feel to it, and that might just be because I want to say that Marjorie, the dance partner towards the beginning of the film, who's like an alcoholic, and I think the actress's name is Leland Palmer.
Sure is.
Yes.
Yes.
Which always makes me wonder, what was David Lynch thinking of something there?
Or was it Mark Frost?
Yeah.
Fair enough. But with her, I think she was in All That Jazz. So I don't know if it's just the contrast between her and the ending feeling kind of, having remnants of that movie.
Well, for me, whenever I see Leland Palmer's name, all I think is, why is Ray Wise in this movie?
Right.
That's the real problem. It's like,
that would be a real question. Well, you know what? Why is John Katzenberger in this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real shock when he showed up. I was like, whoa, Cliff Clavin, what are you doing here?
I know. Hey, Normie, did you hear Rudolph Valentino died?
I do have to say some biopics are really good, but I think they're the ones that are just much more playing in the fictional.
Right.
So like something like Amadeus, where it's like, okay, we know a couple details, but like these days with biopics, it's like, okay, who's going to come out of the woodwork first and write the article of here are all the things that are wrong with this, or do the YouTube video? And it's not fun. Whereas you can do some things with biopics where you don't follow that formula, which you're talking about, which is totally the formula. Oh, there's a diversity now. Oh, is it a drug problem? Well, let's see. Is this a musician? It's like a flow chart, right?
Right.
For a musician, go to drug
our
problem.
Bingo.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. The way I've always looked at biopics is if I glean about as much from the movie as I do reading their Wikipedia page, you have failed as a filmmaker. Because you should...
I mean, I would so much rather watch a good documentary, and I'm sorry to pick on Milos Forman. Like, I love Amadeus, but every other biopic that he's done, it's like, give me a great documentary about Andy Kaufman. Give me a great documentary about Larry Flint. I don't need to see these horrible movies that you're making.
But do you believe that they put a man on the moon?
I believe it.
I'm actually really with you. I'd never thought about it that way. Kind of putting that like, well, if you're going to do this, why not just do a documentary? I had never thought about it until you said it, and it makes so much sense.
It's more powerful if you do a documentary about if you want to do it in a more straightforward, this is a life about this person, then let's actually talk to the people who knew this person, because it's more powerful than, I think about these movies all the time because they were just on when I was growing up all the time and I'd watch them, but like the VH1 movies for like the Platters and all of that stuff that would come out, and it was, it's every movie filled out the same, and it just felt like it would be so much more interesting if they pushed into that reality just a little bit more, rather than just giving us the like you said, Chris, the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, it's like the greatest hits of the person's life. Like Walk the Line. Oh, we know Johnny Cash is gonna get hung up with drugs. He gets popped coming into the United States from out of the country. You know that he's gonna have problems with June Carter Cash. Like, oh, fucking come on, just watch the document. Like, watch a documentary. At least
murders his brother with a machete. Oh wait, no, that wasn't.
that's the best biopic ever made.
It totally is.
I fucking love that movie. If you've never seen Dewey Cox, it is one of the funniest movies ever made that few people talk about, because I think people didn't understand what the hell it was trying to be, and it's amazing. And if you've never seen, you guys have seen it, right?
I have, yes.
I have not.
Oh, it is so good. It's a treat. And I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in that movie that I normally can't stand, but it just fits together so perfectly.
We can do anything we imagine.
Oh, man. That's right, John Lennon of the Beatles.
That's right, Paul McCartney of the Beatles. Yeah, the scene with the Beatles is my favorite scene in the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need a Beatles movie now. I've seen this, and this is enough.
That and Wrong Kid Died.
Yeah. And what is it? Jack White plays Elvis?
Yes.
Yeah, Jess, you need to watch Dewey Cox. I think the other problem with Dewey Cox was, talking completely off topic, everyone expected it was going to be like 40-Year-Old Virgin, and it's a much smarter movie.
Right.
It's a much more well-made movie.
And that would be
everything
why
they were advertising was just like the standard old school type of humor, and it's like, no, it's actually pretty decent.
Yeah. It did for biopics what Airplane did for disaster movies.
Yes.
It knew exactly the buttons that were pressed, and it knew exactly how to really amp it up when pressing those buttons in their own movie. It knew exactly what to do to lambast that genre perfectly, to the point where the framing device makes fun of those framing devices. It's like, Mr. Cox, you're wanted on stage. Let me do the entire movie in a flashback now.
Right.
Entire movie from that scene. Oh boy. Yeah, there's a reason we've never done Biopic Month on the Kulturecast, because it's just not a genre I really have an interest in visiting. And if you, the listening audience, want to hear us do it, I guess email me, message me on Twitter. That's fine. If there's an interest, sure. It's just they're all kind of samey, at least the current ones. And I think I'm not speaking out of turn for any of us. They're all kind of samey, and that's the problem.
Yeah, there's just always only so much you can talk about somebody's life.
And there's only so many quick cuts that you can throw into one scene in Bohemian Rhapsody. Am I right, folks? Am I right? 25 quick cuts in one scene, nominated for Best Editing. Fuck are you guys smoking over there at the Academy? Oh, man.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing about biopics, right? They're always guarantees.
Oh, pretty much. It's like the Oscar bait of Oscars.
They're star vehicles. That's what they are.
Yeah, look at Eddie Redmayne. That guy can barely act, and yet he has an Oscar.
Yeah, he's not doing anything anymore.
He's doing that thing. What's it called, Mike? Were you the one who was talking about whisper talking?
Oh, whisper screaming.
Come here, little niffler.
He loves to whisper scream, especially in Jupiter Ascending.
Oh yeah. Touche.
Yeah. No, I've not seen Jupiter Ascending primarily because I don't want to see Channing Tatum as half man, half cat.
I think he's a Mog.
Oh, good. Well, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
Yeah. I think Eddie might be waiting for the next Fantastic Beasts movie to come out, which I think is all about how trans women aren't real women.
That's what I've heard. Weird.
Yeah.
Who wrote?
It's not as good as her old stuff when we had that illusion, right?
When we knew she wasn't a complete asshole.
I don't.
Yeah, talk about magic.
Wait, what are you guys?
Yeah.
Wait, what are you guys talking about? Who wrote the Harry Potter books? I thought they were just written by anonymous. What's the word?
JK stands for just kidding.
She's an AI, really.
I thought it was written by a random group of people in a room together wrote Harry Potter at this point.
At this point, yeah.
Well, yeah, boy.
That room full of people is Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter could write a better Harry Potter book at this point than I would never give J.K. Rowling a chance to revisit Harry Potter after her horrifyingly misguided attempts to give a shit about anyone other than herself.
Yeah, I don't know, man. After Reddit wrote that last Star Wars movie, I don't know if I trust the internet to write stuff.
Well, I'm not sure I trust Rian Johnson to write anything, so... Will you trust the internet or Rian Johnson? Because I've seen Knives Out, and it's, not good. It's been received as
that's true. Yeah. It's like the next Clue. It is not.
Yeah, it's this is next Sherlock Holmes. Get the fuck. But back to Valentino. So, anything else we want to talk about?
Other than his butt? No, we're good.
Jess really hung up on Nureyev's butt.
Not just...
either his butt or Carol Kane. So.
or the other ladies who were playing Natasha Rambova and the other name that sounded exactly the same, who I can't remember.
I was just hung up on...
There was a lot of fine-looking people in this movie, is what I'm saying.
I was just hung up on Peter Vaughn, who this is the first time I'd seen him outside of Game of Thrones. So... as the man that Valentino fights in the ring, so.
Yeah. He's so familiar. Was he in Straw Dogs?
Yes, he was. He was the dad in Straw Dogs.
All right.
He was also in Game of Thrones, but that doesn't matter to anyone anymore, so.
I never watched that show.
But don't go out of your way to do so now.
I hear that the last season just was perfect.
That Italian kiss of delicious. Bon appetito. Yes. Buongiorno. Oh, man. So, Mike, what would you give Valentino out of 5?
I'd probably give it I want to give it a 3, but I'll give it a 2.5.
What about you, Maggie?
I'm actually edging toward like a solid 3.5 to 4.
With all the butt talk, I'm surprised you're the only one who's edging at this point. Jesus H. Christ. Well, let's talk about butts. This has become the butt cast real quick. What about you, Jess?
This is suddenly Bob's Burgers Part 2.
The butt cast, folks. What about you, Jess?
We are all Tina. I would give this a 4 out of 5. I like this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I think that it is, I think that it takes the biopic and kind of breaks out a little bit of what that cliche formula we were talking about. Sure, it's a little more straightforward than something like Litz, but I still like it.
As for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5. I'm right there with you, Mike. It's like you've said, Jess, it does some things, and I think with something like this, your mileage is really going to vary with what you want from a film about Rudolph Valentino. If you know who that is, if you're watching this because you're completing your kind of Ken Russell filmography journey, I think you guys have convinced me more that it has a place in his filmography. But again, I mean, if you want to watch the movies that are the good ones, the ones that I'm suggesting, The Devils, I mean, Jesus Christ. Nothing to say that we haven't already said when we talked about it. So,
even though that's the hardest one to find.
Yeah, boy, ain't it? It is. It was on Shudder, and then it wasn't. It was on Criterion.
And it was on Criterion, and then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't. You want to buy it on DVD? You gotta have a PAL DVD player.
It's absurd that movie is so hard to find still, and it's not even that it's still banned. It's just because nobody, I'm sure it's a bunch of rights bullshit.
No, it's because Warner Brothers doesn't want to release it.
Yeah, there we go.
There's a reason why that hashtag Free the Devils is still very valid.
Well, and you've got a director like Guillermo del Toro who has gone to bat and criticized WB about it. So someday, I'm sure we'll get a release of it someday. Just that day is not today, unfortunately. Well, let's take a break and we'll talk about what the theme is for next month.
In this land of frozen beauty, where a proud people make their home, Aegis Oil is making a killing.
The people here want to talk about the poisons in their environment.
If Aegis 1 is not online and operational in 13 days, then the oil rights will revert back to the Eskimos, and that is not going to happen.
We're back.
But there is hope. And now, he's here. Steven Seagal is on deadly ground.
You're an oil man.
When I put out the fires, I stop spills. We are being lied to by some of the most sophisticated people on Earth.
I know we've had our disagreements.
How much money is enough?
I don't need that kind of problem right now.
Get rid of the problem.
You mean mercenaries?
Now this land has a friend.
In you, I've seen a great spirit.
These people have a warrior.
Did you beat up on this little native man?
And this corporation...
Find me a buddy or find me the man.
...has a big problem.
And who the hell is this guy?
I'd say he's company.
Company?
CIA.
Whatever he is, he's a damn problem.
Steven Seagal.
Time to move out.
Michael Caine.
He'd need a miracle to stop us now.
Just gonna reach out and touch somebody here.
On deadly ground.
So on the next Kulturecast, and in July, we're going to be talking about a real quality actor. We're going to be talking about everyone's favorite, really, really dour, muted, Nehru jacket-wearing action star. We're going to be talking about Mr. Steven Seagal and his films that were the ones that came out in theater, because that's a distinction we have to make, unfortunately, because so many of them are straight to DVD. Next month, we are kicking off Steven Seagal month with a look at On Deadly Ground.
I'm on that one.
You are on that one, and so is newcomer to the Kulturecast, Cullen Gallagher, who once again met through Mike White because all roads lead back to the projection booth. Hey, man, it's the truth.
All podcast roads lead back to the projection booth.
Even Joe Rogan's podcast leads right back to the projection booth.
Joe Rogan learned everything that he knows from me.
You know what?
Every racist, sexist, homophobic thing he learned from me.
Hey, you forgot transphobic.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, conspiracy theory, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So until then, where can people find you, Mike?
You can find me over at the projection booth, where, me and Joe Rogan are talking every week, which is at projectionboothpodcast.com.
What about you, Maggie?
Well, I have recently moved to the dumpster behind the Denny's, but you could also follow me on Instagram at Maggie the Odd.
Are you that character from Mulholland Drive?
Yeah. I had a dream about this place.
God, you guys are terrible secrets.
Just pops out and scares everybody. Yeah. What about you, Jess?
You can find me on Twitter at writer Jess Byard. Pretty much post everything there. But if you want to hear Chris and I together talking about other things, you can hear us on our podcast, The One Season Show, where we talk about television that lasted only one season. And you can find us over at the Scary Stories We Tell podcast, where we get into some spooky true crime, paranormal, various unexplained events, all kinds of fun interviews over there, featuring Mike White and soon to be featuring Maggie. So you can find all of us there shortly.
No Joe Rogan.
And that's it. No, you fuck Joe Rogan. But no, that's pretty much it for me.
Not yet, Mike. You're a funny guy, you know? Oh, man. The only reason we would talk to Joe Rogan on that podcast is for the views. That is it.
We could probably get him, we could reason getting him on Scary Stories, but
maybe, but I'm not sure.
It kind of is a scary story.
Boy, wouldn't it be? As for myself, you can find me on Twitter, casualty_Chris, Chronicles from the Crypt, the Legends of Barney Miller. Boy, I don't know. Fuck
the Legends of Barney Miller,
brother. The Life and Times of Barney Miller, and Dreams for Sale. Those are some other podcasts other than the ones that we've already talked about. As for this podcast, Kulturecast on Twitter, kulturecast.com, patreon.com/Kulturecast is where you can find all the information you need to either find the podcast, listen to old episodes, or donate your hard-earned cash to us. And as always, big thanks to our good friends, the three of y'all, for joining me to talk about Ken Russell. To Jess for programming the entire month. That is Jess Byard June number 2 in the bag. We can't say Electric Boogaloo anymore. Thanks, racist. Found that out the hard way on an episode of The Projection Booth. And yeah, make sure to check out the next episode.